Welcome everyone. Welcome to the second week of the No Etna Sicily box. We are tasting this guy today. 2023 La Fontane Sabbie Rosse Terre Siciliane IGT is what we are tasting today. I don't know. It's kind of like French, but is it supposed to be La Fontane because it's Italian? I have no idea. But I'm going to pronounce it La Fontaine, Sabbie Rosse, Terre Siciliane IGT. Anyways, I am very excited about this wine. I was immediately impressed and shocked by this wine when I first tasted it. So, yeah, plenty of things we can talk about. But before we get there, just a few announcements. Happy tax day, everyone, by the way. I forgot that I have to pay this one little thing called TC franchise tax, so I have to do that tonight before midnight. So I can't stay on too late tonight because I got to finish that. I need like an hour to pay more tax to DC. It's just what I got to do. This is the last call on Case Club, so I'm wrapping it all up tomorrow. So if you want to participate in the Loire supporting actors, those wines from last month, there are some really, really fun wines in the Case Club this month. And they're pretty reasonably, they're very affordably priced as well. I highly recommend with the warm weather coming up, if you're looking for something, if you're curious and you're looking for something new and different, they're all kind of like chillable, bright, red, poppy, kind of perfect, kind of a summer porch kind of a drinker. Really fun wine. So go check them out. Get some if you can. I highly recommend it. Really, really fun ones out there on the Case Club. The invoices went out today for next month. And in a true, for those of you who, you all have been with me for a long time, and you all know that I'm forever a student and forever trying to perfect the art of procrastination. So I still don't know what next month's theme is going to be. So I can't tell you what next month's theme is going to be. But the invoices went out. So we'll get that wrapped up if you want to join next month. If not, just let me know. So I can get that all processed. I will have to come out with a theme pretty soon, or I have to decide on a theme. The reason is that there's some other things that are floating around, and we're checking some inventory levels and different things, availability. But those will all get firmed up by the end of the week. So I should have an answer on what next month theme is going to be by end of the week. So in case that matters, give me till the end of the week.
If you ever want suggestions or do a vote, just let us know.
Always taking suggestions. You guys can always send me suggestions. All right. I think that's all the announcements that I have. Any questions about any of that before we get into it? Excellent. Hearing none, let's get into it. We're tasting this guy today. 2023 La Fontaine Sabbie Rosse Terre Siciliane IGT is what we are tasting today. Let's start with the man. Cool. There it is. Should look pretty familiar. You guys have seen this many times now. Sorry, what is going on with my screen? There you go. Where we are is in Sicily, right? So down here, this is where we are this entire month. The toe of the, I guess this is a toe. So I don't know what this is. A fucking tumor on the toe, something that grows on the toe. I don't know. What do you call Sicily in terms of anatomy? Like this is the boot, right? This is the toe. So what is Sicily? But
the balls.
Isn't it the rock? I thought it was the rock that the boot was kicking.
Oh, is that a thing? Is Italy is a rock of the boot is kicking? I have never heard of.
Yeah, the boot's like clear. The boot's clearly like in motion, like
Yeah. Okay.
something.
I mean, I'll go with it.
Yeah.
And then is Sardinia a rock that's already been kicked?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
All right.
Angry boot.
Yeah, let's go with that. Sicily, the rock that boot is about to kick or making contact is where we are. And if you look a little more closely, this is what it looks like. Last week we were in Lipari, the Olean Islands, the 7 islands that make up the archipelago that makes up the kind of Y shape up here. That Ypsilon that we tasted last week, right? And I talked about how, Sicily kind of roughly divides into 3 different regions. So we have this kind of a northwestern region. This is where Marsala is. So most likely you've heard of Marsala mostly as a kind of cooking wine. Chicken Marsala is a pretty popular dish in the 90s, in the late 80s as well in America. But this is Marsala. So this is where that fortified wine comes from. But there's a lot of cool like dry wines, and we definitely are going to go here at some point this month. But this is coming off of the mountains. Obviously, there's the mountain range that runs through the northern end of tip of Sicily, and then there's another mountain range that goes down. But as you go towards the ocean, it gets much flatter. So a lot more Mediterranean influence and less of a kind of alpine elevation mountain influence here. And that's kind of what Marsala is known for. So a lot of heat, and that's what's really good for fortified wines and all that. And then in the southern part, let's go to the northeast first. So this is where Etna is. So it kind of divides into the west and then the east, northeast. This is where Mount Etna and Faro is. So this is where the Nerello Muscolese, Nerello Cappuccio, those kind of volcanic soils. This is where the high volcanic activities are. So we're talking about basalt soil type. Elevation comes into a big play here, depending on where you are on the slopes of Etna. That has a huge influence on the final style of the wine. But also the variety-wise, we're talking about those Nerello families, Nerello Muscolese, Nerello Cappuccio. So very different kind of wine that comes from here. And now the third type is downside here in Vittoria. And that's where we are this week. So Vittoria, there's a province. I don't think it shows on this map. Oh, no, it does here. So we're in Vittoria in the province of Ragusa is where we are, where the winery is. Part of Sicily that feels less volcanic. This is more kind of like, it's more the kind of sun-baked, calm, flatter land, kind of what you think of as a kind of oftentimes outside of Mount Etna. This is the picture that you see of Sicily. It's kind of like what you see here. Very kind of like the bushes and shrubs growing on a very arid, dry land with the ocean in the background, kind of flat with a ton of sunlight. That's kind of where this is. It's where Vittoria is. This is, if you heard of a Terre di Vittoria territory, it's the only DOCG in all of Sicily is right here. And we're in that territory today. What sets this part apart is it's a soil type. So here we talked about much more of volcanic soil, right? There's a lot more clay in the soil when you go into the left, which is really good for pumping up that kind of a fruit and the ripeness, which is really good for fortified wines. But when you come down here, we're not talking about the volcanic, the kind of chaotic volcanic soil, the elevation is none of that. Here, we're talking about limestone and sandstone, like a red sand and limestone is what we're talking about here. So soil type changes quite a bit down here. This is the kind of the clay content here gets much, much lower. What it means is that when there's a clay in the soil, there's a water retention as well as heat retention there. So the fruit quality really pops out on the grapes that are grown on clay. But because not only this is on limestone, which gives that kind of the acid, that kind of angular cut on the wine, but the sandy soil makes it really, really, the soil is really well draining here, which means the vines really have to dig really deep into the ground to get to the water, to get to the nutrients. They basically have to struggle. They have to work harder. And as we all know, when the vines struggle, the wines tend to be better. Just because, it's kind of like people, people who had things, spoon-fed to them on a silver platter, usually are not most of the interesting people. People who have to kind of struggle a little bit in life and build characters end up being much more interesting people. And it's the same thing with the wine. The grapes have to struggle a little bit to find their ways and to find their ways to water and to survival and life, the wine tends to be much better. So, and then even the name of this wine, the Sabbie Rosse, it literally means red sand. And that's kind of what defines this area, but particularly where this winery is located around Ragusa. So there's a ton of, it's really rich in iron oxide, and that's part of what makes the sand look quite red. It's all that rust and oxidation that comes in. So what does it mean? So all that kind of a well-draining soil struggle that really builds up the kind of the concentration, complexity. This is really warm, really sun-baked, so the fruit is really ripe, so it never struggles to get generous fruit in there. The fruit quality is really popping here. But then red sand kind of gives it that kind of angular, the limestone along with the red sand kind of gives it the angular cut as well as the kind of the minerality to the wine. So all in all, really a nice place for grape wine. The landscape here rolls gently, just kind of rolling hills here, mostly flat, not really huge kind of elevation gain that you see in Mount Etna. A lot of dry bushes, dry kind of shrubs kind of growing around here. This is not a dramatic volcanic mountain viticulture. This is more of a horizontal heat and light. And as you can imagine, the climate here is very much Mediterranean, very hot days, cool nights, very little rain here, mild winter. This is a place of sun and exposure, but big diurnal shift, obviously, that happens here because it's dry, it's kind of desert in the middle. That helps keep the natural freshness in the acidity of the wine. So let's talk about who makes this wine. So these two young boys on the left and right, I don't know which one is Giovanni and which one is Paolo, but they are sons of this gentleman in the middle, whose name is Giusto Occhipinti. And you're wondering why the name Occhipinti sounds familiar. It's probably because you've heard of Arianna Occhipinti. We recently had Arianna's wine allocation that I put out in the email. Arianna is arguably probably the most rock star, well-known Sicilian winemaker right now. Young woman, I think she's in her early 40s now, late 30s maybe. Just kind of took the natural wine world by the storm, and her wines are some of the most kind of recognizable names in Sicily. Anyways, she is the niece of Giusto Occhipinti. So, we talked about, for those of you, which are most of you, who are in Bojbas, we talked about Gang of Four, right? We talked about Marcel Lapierre, we talked about Jean-Luc Foillard, Guy Breton, Jean-Paul Thévenet, all those guys who were like the pioneers and godfathers of natural winemaking in Beaujolais, in France, right, in the 80s. Well, Sicily had Giusto Occhipinti. So he's a kind of a living legend. So he's one of three founders of COS, C-O-S, Cellars. You might have heard of it. It is probably the most famous winery in Sicily. They were founded back in 1980. Is one of Sicily's most important natural winemakers. And again, he's kind of the godfather of organic and biodynamic wine in Sicily. While all the industry is kind of moving towards the industrial winemaking and everything is going to stainless steel and chemical farming and all of that, Giusto and two of his buddies, when in the 80s, in 1980 actually, at the beginning of the 80s, they decided that they're going to make the wine the way their great grandfathers used to make, go back the way they used to, only work with the native yeast, only work at indigenous varieties, and then try to do as little as possible in the cellar. So all the things that we talk about in natural wine, he was the one who kind of pioneered all of that in the 80s. So, Arianna learned her winemaking from Giusto and became this rock star of Sicily. And then now his sons, Paolo and Giovanni, are striking on their own with their first vintage of La Fontane being 2022. And their whole thing is that they want to kind of, interpret the Sicily's landscape in a little more younger person's point of view. I don't exactly know what that means in terms of styles because so much of their wine still reminds me a lot of both Ariana as well as Justo. And I should probably say they all remind me of Justo because he's the one who taught all these people. But they're really, really fucking good. So they only make 3 different wines right now. So Cerso de Vittoria is a 50% Nero d'Avola, 50% Frappato blend was their first one that they made in 2022. And then in 2023, they added 2 more wines. And one is Calcis, which is their white. It's a 45% Grillo, Insolia, Moscato blend grown on limestone from Michigan. Earlier, I talked about how this is a limestone and a red sandstone area, right? And then Sabbie Rosse. So Sabbie Rosse and Calcis came a year later, the vintage later. And this is 70% Frappato and 30% Nero d'Avola versus their Cerso de Vittoria, which is 50-50. All those 3 wines were stunning. I was truly, truly impressed. And I was like, God damn it, these fucking Occupantes, you know? There's a reason why that name is one of the most well-known names in Sicily and in world over, because all their wines were solid. I mean, it was just such well-made wines. But out of all of that, especially coming into kind of a warm season, this particular version felt just so much more fun. There's a lot of Frappato here, at least 70% Frappato, so mostly Frappato. So a lot of Frappato character comes out, and I personally love Frappato. So I just found it to be much more charming and fun, and I picked this one. But honestly, any one of those 3, in fact, I'll offer all of that on Case Club if they're still available. But you should all check them out. But yeah, essentially these boys grew up literally amongst the vines with his father being the godfather, most famous winemaker, natural winemaker in Sicily. So they're kind of grew up in the shadow, and then now they're trying to bust out on their own and trying to do their own things. And I said this in the email that I sent out as well. But if you know, I mean, cost is not cheap. Ariana Occupanti's wines are fucking insanely expensive now. I remember back when her wines used to be $20-$30 wholesale, but now they're the $50 to $80 wholesale. Not only that, you can't really find them because they're just not available because she makes so little of it. But these boys are just hitting the market. These wines have never come to US until this year. This is the first time. And honestly, I don't know, maybe I may be wrong, but I think we may be catching them at the right time. It's like that moment, everybody's like, oh, I saw that band before they made it big. I think it's that kind of moment with these guys. I have a feeling that their wines are going to take off. I'm just knowing the fact that their last names are Occupanti, just that alone says a lot. So I don't know. Maybe when this comes on Case Club, maybe it's time to pick up some. But keep your eye out on La Fontane because I have a feeling it's gonna get up there along with Ariana and their fathers. All right. So what is this wine? This is 70% Frappato, 30% Nero d'Avola. Frappato and Nero d'Avola are native indigenous varieties of Sicily, but particularly this area, the Vittoria, the southern part of Sicily. Like I mentioned, in the northeast, we're talking about Nerello Mescalese, Nerello Cappuccio. On the northwest, in the Marsala region, we're really talking about Moscato, different variety. But in the southern part, we're really talking about Frappato and Nero d'Avola. And they're very, very different grapes. Frappato, I mean, we had Nero d'Avola last week as well in our blend, but Frappato is what gives the lift to the wine. It is kind of like the bright ruby red hue, red berries, think red currant, cranberries, touch of kind of a beautiful floral lift to it. There's literally like an incense, kind of like a florality, aromaticness. It's really pretty. It's a perfect kind of chill it down, drink it in the summertime kind of wine. Nero d'Avola, on the other hand, is much deeper. It gives the body, it has the tannin, it has the power. It also has a kind of like herbal, spicy, earthy kind of a depth to it. And then Cerso de Vittoria, by law, you have to blend those two. The reason why this is not a Cerso de Vittoria the only DOCG in Sicily is because it's more for Pato. By law, it has to be at least 50% Nero d'Avola for it to be a Cersola de Vittoria. So because of that, they can only put it on the label Terre Siciliane, which is wine that can come from anywhere in Sicily, not a Cersola. But they do make Cersola as well with a more Nero d'Avola, with more maceration. It's much darker, deeper. So again, I'll put it on Case Club. You guys should check it out. Chance. And again, they're all reasonably priced. Like this is kind of like what put Sicily, when for a while, about 10 years ago, when Burgundy started getting crazy expensive, when Bordeaux started getting crazy expensive, people are like, what's the next area in the world where you can still get bang for your buck, incredible quality per dollar? And people started pointing to Sicily. And it's because wines like these were priced reasonably. But of course, those all became really expensive as well. But the fact that these are still, because they're just coming onto the market, I don't think they just realize how popular Sicilian wines are right now. That these prices are probably going to go up. So yeah, right now is the time. If you guys want to check it out, you should definitely check out their other two wines as well. Anyway, so this is 70% for Pato, 30% Nero d'Avola, certified organic, all practicing biodynamic, all hand harvested, grown about 230 meters above sea level. It's only comes from one single vineyard, about a 2-hectare vineyard. Average vine ages are 20 years old. They were planted in 2000, 2005, and 2010. All made in concrete. There's no oak here. There's no stainless steel. They actually prefer to use concrete. One of the things that put Giusto on the map was that he was one of the very first to start using or start experimenting with the amphora, which is a big clay pots, right? Amphora in Sicily, and letting go of that stainless steel that everyone was moving towards, and just getting a little more of that kind of oxidative winemaking. And knowing that these boys learned that from their father, it's no surprise that they prefer or they chose to use concrete instead of wood or stainless steel. So concrete fermentation, indigenous yeast only, 15-day maceration, so not super long, much lighter maceration. I think a lot of it is to kind of bring up that Frappato, the lightness and lift in the wine. But they do keep the cap submerged in the wine the whole time. So cap management when you're making red wine, particularly, right, or orange wine, is you either punch it down, right, it's like with a big plunger essentially, or you pump it over, so which means you pump out the juice from the bottom and you pump it over the top. All of it is to make sure that cap stays moist so it doesn't rot, but also to extract all the tannins, flavors, color, and all that stuff, right? But another way to do it is you can actually put a little weight on it and keep the cap submerged in the wine the whole time. It's much gentler. It's probably the most gentle way of extraction. Punch down is the most aggressive way, right? Because you're literally punching it down. And then second is a pump over, where you pump the juice and then you spray it from the top, so the juice kind of flows down through the skins and it extracts things. And then this is just literally submerging it. It's kind of like making tea, so you're submerging it and keeping it in the water. So that's what they try to do. What that tells me here is that they're not trying to extract so much tannin, structure, or color, anthocyanin, or anything like that. What they're really trying to do is really preserve the kind of freshness, delicate aromas, and all of that. Is what that tells me. Aged 8 to 10 months in concrete tanks, additional 1 to 2 months in bottles before release. There's no filtration, no fining. There is a little bit of a added SO2 here, but the exact amount I could not find. That's what we have here. Any questions about any of that before we taste the wine? Excellent. Let's taste the wine. Let's take the appearance.
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I'm getting really good at the appearance 6 years in.
Every time.
And I never turn my lights on enough, so I'm actually not very good at it. Plus, I sit on, as you can see, a red couch, so like I'm useless. I would say this wine is clear.
This wine is clear.
I would say it's medium.
Yeah, I'll call it about medium. Yeah.
Yeah. Ruby.
Yep.
Wow, this is like a super easy appearance too. We don't talk about legs. There is no pétillance, and I had no deposit in mine. Nothing else to observe.
Well done. Knock
I
it out of the park. Easy peasy.
I nailed it.
You pick the next person for the notes.
Right. I feel like I picked on Phil last time. Well, I feel like I picked on both Phil and Joe, but we've got a baby, and that feels cruel to ask someone to do the nose when they're holding a baby. Uh, I
Do
wonder if
you, is
the
this a
second.
thing?
Hmm?
Does your olfactory or taste sensation get really sensitive when you become pregnant or after you have a baby?
When you're pregnant, but not so much postpartum.
Okay.
Certainly not me. As you know, I can't smell anything ever. I'm always like, you guys are like, it's pronounced. And I'm like, is it? Like, it's not. I don't know. My nose is
All right.
broken.
We should have caught you when you're pregnant.
Yeah, I know. I know. It is weird, actually, um, how strong it gets. Um, all right. Who's up for it? Phil, are you
Dahan.
up for it? Kristen?
Or I'll
Kristen,
do it.
thank you. I wasn't
Okay.
sure. And I'm never sure, like, if you're off camera, I'm never sure, like, are you like listening in or are you kind of only half like sometimes I'm like doing the trash or something and
Right.
then
Yeah, no, I know. It's
all
multitasking
right,
for sure.
it's you.
Okay. I've had a little bit of a headache all day today, so we'll see how I do with this. And I also can barely see anything with my glasses. Okay.
Okay.
I think
Also,
this is clean. I feel like it's like a tiny bit not clean,
yeah, exactly. You can
but I
tell this is,
can't tell you why.
yeah, this is, I would say this wine is sound, but this is definitely not like a flat, squeaky clean wine. There's a, yeah, it smells like something that was made in like a natural, like not natty. Like there's no like elevated VA. It's very clean. It's very stable, but there's a little bit of like just just dirtiness. It's just
Mm.
dirty. It's just a little dirty.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit.
Intensity.
Maybe a little bit, of it, but not a whole lot. Intensity.
I think like for me, it's like on the low end of medium plus.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm like right
I
here.
mean, yeah, it's pretty
This is
far
a-
up the glass for
yeah.
me.
Yep. I'm gonna call this medium plus as well.
And I'm
Medium
like
plus.
literally got my nose in the glass, so just proving my point. I'm like, what? Really smell it.
Yeah, I'm like here. So a couple inches. So yeah, lower, like you said, lower in the medium plus, high in the medium. Yep. By the way, medium plus aromas. Ooh, what do you got?
It's definitely something floral,
Yeah.
but it's not like sweet floral, which I think the ones earlier on the list are more like sweet to me, and the ones later like violet rose are more like earthy and less floral to me. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's a perfect
It's
thing.
like a not sweet flower.
Yeah, like I get a mixture of that kind of like somewhere in the rose, violet, that kind of a spectrum. Yeah. But definitely something floral, something aromatic, something pretty
Yeah.
there. Any green, citrus, stone, tropical?
Nope.
Nope, nope. Redford?
Yeah.
Yep. Call it out.
Um, get like the more like cherry plum
Mm-hmm.
than the berries for me,
Hmm.
but I think it's back to that like not super sweet.
Yeah, like
I'm
to me.
terrible. I'm really terrible at smelling. I'm not good at this, but
Well, it's not get
the
better.
fruits I struggle with the fruits, but like
So, like,
it comes back to that for me. Like it doesn't smell as sweet, so that makes me move away from like the berries and more towards the like cherry plum because I don't
yeah,
think of
yeah,
it
yeah,
as sweet,
totally.
but
Do you get, first of all, do you get more red? Do you get more black? Do you get like equal amount? You get both, or
I think it's both.
I do get some black as well.
Yeah,
So I
but
get,
it feels more primary red than black.
yeah, exactly. I get mostly red. I do get some like specklings of like a little bit of a black film in there. But yeah, I think red is definitely the major dominant one. It makes sense. 70% for Pato. For Pato is very, very red berry driven, like red fruit driven.
Mhm.
And then Nero d'Avola is much more black fruit driven. And then here, and to your point, like to me, this is not like really tart high kind of like a uh red berry. It's like it's not cranberries, red currant. Like this is to me, you were saying cherry, red plum, really ripe raspberries as well. But yeah, like ton of that kind of a yeah, I got a ton of raspberry in this thing. Name out some black fruits that you get.
Blackberry.
Yep. I think blackberry is an excellent call. Yeah, I get a ton of I definitely got a pinch of a blackberry here, but blackberry, red cherry, red plum, raspberry. I think those are all excellent, excellent. Nature of the fruit.
Ripe.
Yeah, really ripe, really fresh, really ripe. I wouldn't say overripe, but like
It's like,
peak season. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say it's like right on that edge, like right before it becomes
yeah,
overripe.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, like I mentioned, this place is just sunbaked. There's so much sun. It's warm. Like underripening is never. You're never gonna find green underripe fruit quality here. Everything's gonna be really ripe. If anything, it's gonna be overripe, too ripe. So yeah, it's not surprising that we're finding this right at the cusp of it being like almost too ripe, but like overripe, but like very, very ripe. Any herbaceous, herbal,
There's
spice?
something.
Yeah,
It's
right.
sort of that same kind of like a little bit dirty, but I don't know exactly what I don't know if I would name it
So
things. It's not like
yeah, so I get this with the frappato a lot. I sometimes get it with the narrowed out lie as well, but they're two different things. So with the frappato, what I usually get, and then this may be going back to floral, but for me, it's not quite floral, but it's essentially there's a little bit of like an incense kind of quality to it. Like, so maybe that's not floral, maybe that's just kind of like I don't know what is incense like, maybe some sort of wood, like really aromatic wood kind of a thing, but there's some sort of that kind of a herbal oasis. But the narrow davla is where I get a touch of like a licorice, like a black licorice, and some of that in here as well. Um, yeah, but mostly fruit, obviously, very generous fruit, but there's touch of that as well. Uh, any minerality?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um
It's very earthy. Like I get a lot of like
yeah.
it's dusty. It's like a dirty fruit, like fruit that hasn't been washed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is. It's just like it's got all that fruit and it smells really good. I mean, I like the smell of it, but it's just that little touch of dirtiness throughout. It's
exactly.
like the herbaceous, the slightly not clean,
Yeah,
slightly
that
something like soily, dirty.
yeah. There's something earthy, something
Yeah.
like you know, uh, yeah, earthy is I guess I want to. Any secondary, any tertiary?
No.
Nope, nope. Still very much right in the primary, fresh, all that, and ripe. Excellent. You get to pick the next person for the palate.
Any volunteers?
Come on.
I know I can barely see it. Glasses are very dirty. I mean, I think we've all sort of done it in recent whatever. Come on, the palate's easy. You just have to say yes, everything that they said about.
We'll do it. Andrew and I will do it. We'll
All
do
right.
it.
All right, Sarah, Andrew. Let's do this.
Okay.
Sweetness.
Hold on. We're on the wrong view. There we go. Okay. This wine is dry.
This one is dry.
I don't find it particularly acidic.
For a wine club, it's like low.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Medium.
Medium minus, maybe. Maybe medium.
Yeah, I'll call this about a medium, a kind of medium. It's kind of what I don't want to go all the way to medium plus, but it's not there. I feel it pulling. And that's kind of the thing that's great about this area is that because of the diurnal shift that happens here, you know, even though you get this incredible ripeness, ripe in quality of the fruit, right? Like none of this is green, none of this is like herbaceous in terms of like a underripe fruit, but you get this acidity that kind of balances it all, keeps it really still fresh. Just because of that, the kind of deserty, arid kind of nighttime temperature drop. Tannin.
I noticed the tannin more than the acid, so I would say medium plus, medium to medium plus.
Yeah. Medium plus would be like,
Really, yeah.
like you'd be feeling it in your teeth.
It's more like middle of the tongue tannin than like
Yeah.
teeth, cheeks tannin. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
there's definitely some tannin here. Like there's no doubt. And a lot of that is the narrowed out blood that's bringing all that in, as well as the submerged cap. But yeah, I'm gonna call this like a lower end of medium. Yeah, I'll call this about medium. Is basically what I would call this. What I will say though about the tannin is that the quality, the character of the tannin is like super fine tannin. Like it's not like chewy, like really green tannin, but it's like just a fine kind of powdery kind of a tannin that like it just kind of coats. And to your point, it's not just like the teeth and it goes all on there. It's kind of like coats your tongue and then kind of coats the inside.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
I was drinking a mezcal Negroni before, so it is hard for me to judge this. Less than that.
You're like water.
Yeah, exactly. Medium.
Yeah. No.
Not low.
12.
Like 12.
12.
Yeah, I was gonna say 12 and a half. Like, yeah.
So that'd be right in the medium. Again, that's one of the things that I love about this is that it's so easy for these particularly narrows. So like narrows, varietal narrows. I've seen the varietal narrow get up to like 15 and a half from so it can get pretty hot. But the fact that keeping this really alcohol in check and balance is a testament to kind of the style that they're trying to make. They're trying to make these really not the internationally popular, particularly the American cow, kind of that style. They're moving away and keeping everything in check and balance, even in a very hot place like this. It's very refreshing, both literally and metaphorically. All right, body. Is there?
1% milk, so maybe like, right? That's what we're on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Call this medium rare.
Yeah, I don't
More
know.
than that.
You think it's more than that?
More than 1%.
2%? 2%?
I'm gonna go with 2% myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a medium body on this thing. Again, that narrows what brings that body. For Pato on its own, unless it's really, really extractive for all of them, but for Pato, it's not usually it doesn't have a whole lot of body. But the fact that narrows in here is what brings that kind of a body to this one. So yeah, I'm gonna call this medium as well. Most we don't have to talk about flavor intensity.
It's there. At least medium.
Medium.
Yeah,
Plus,
I'm kind of like the same way where the intensity on the nose was. It's kind of like right in between medium and medium plus. So
Yeah.
depending on how generous you're feeling, go with medium plus or medium. Do you confirm everything that Kirsten called out? Is there anything else that you guys get?
I don't think so. Like, I agree with I don't get the floral. Well, maybe I do. I feel like I don't get as much floral on the palette as with the nose, but
Yeah.
I don't. But I agree, like it feels kind of darker than really, you know, red raspberry or red strawberry, like
Yeah, totally. It's not just the raspberry and red fruit. There's definitely some black fruit in here. I think it's just like particularly on the palate feels much more pronounced. And then going back to the floral, like to me, and I always say this about Frappato, it's not just like the rose or violet. Like I don't know why, but it's always incense. It reminds me of like an incense, like a floral incense. There's something like that in here that I keep getting. But yeah, but there's something definitely aromatic and pretty that's running through, whether that's you call that rose or violet or some sort of incense or whatever it is. But I think we're all agreed that there's some sort of like an aromatic component in this thing. Both red and black fruit.
yeah, I get it. I
Uh,
get the floral when I'm like, this is weird, but like breathing out after I drink it.
yeah,
I don't know what that is, but that's when I get
totally.
it.
No, I mean, that's what they call a retronasal, like you actually smell a lot of things as you taste. What we think is what we're tasting is actually smelling. That's exactly
Right.
so. One thing I will say, do you get any herbaceous, herbal, those things, kind of like a dirt and minerality and all those things as well?
Definitely minerality, like dirt,
Wet,
earthy.
wet stones.
Yeah,
Just keep
there's some
looking at
stony
that.
in
It tastes
there.
like it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, on the nose, I was like, there's so much like generous fruit and all of that flower, but on the palate, like you can tell that there's some of that like limestone kind of a angular
Yeah.
kind of thing. It's not just like a round thing, but it's like some cut angles on this thing. And call me crazy, or maybe this is a power of suggestion. Knowing that this was grown on a iron oxide rich soil, but I feel like I get a little bit like rusty nail. I feel like I get a little bit of like sanguine, which is that kind of like bloody character. Like if you ever like get a cut and you like suck on your cut and then taste that blood, it has like a little bit of that irony thing. I feel like I get some of that.
I don't
I don't get
I don't get that. I know what you're talking about, but I don't get that. I get much more like earthiness, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
again, call me
Maybe.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
power of suggestion.
Yeah.
maybe you cut your teeth. Maybe you're flossing before this or something.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I do use a weirdly flavored floss time to time. I once got cloves and a cardamom flavored floss in India.
Uh-huh.
It was gross.
Oh, I mean, I've heard of those like toothpick flavors, but I've never heard of floss that are flavored in those.
Yeah, it's gross. I don't know.
Weird.
Maybe I'm not used to it. Maybe I'm just a purist when it comes to floss. I want my spearmint and mint. But all right. Any secondary, any tertiary?
No.
Yeah. Me neither. This is very much in the primary. Cool. The length. How long is the finish?
Um, decent. Medium plus, maybe, for me. I'm still tasting it. Andrew's considering.
Not medium plus,
No.
not that far.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's there.
It's like
but-
somewhere between that medium plus as well. Like, you know,
Yeah.
being generous, you can go medium plus. I think it could be called a medium as well. I will say though, it's what I enjoy is actually kind of like what an evolving finish it is. Like, I immediately get all that kind of like ambiguous floral prettiness, aromatics.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fruit comes in, and then all that kind of earthy rockiness and kind of herbaceous. I get a little bit of licorice too. Some of that like savory notes start to come in. So it like kind of changes throughout. It's a finish, which I really like. All right, bring it home for us. How good is this wine? Justify it. Would you age it?
So we called most things, I don't remember the categories, but we called most things like medium to medium plus with a weight towards medium, I'd say. What were I don't remember the five.
Yeah. So do you think this wine is balanced first and foremost? Is there anything that sticks out to you?
Pretty
Or
balanced.
interferes with you experiencing other things?
No, I think it's balanced. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this wine is very well balanced. Two, intensity. We call medium to medium plus on the nose, medium to medium plus on the palate. So it's somewhere between medium plus is kind of what we're talking about. Complexity.
I'd say more towards medium. I don't find this like overly complex.
Agreed. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff there, right? Like we call some flowers, we call some red fruit, some black fruit, maybe some herbaceous, some like dirt, rockiness, and things like that, minerality. But no secondary, no tertiary. I won't call this crazy, so I'll call that about medium myself. And then the length, we called it somewhere between medium and medium plus. So we got balance, medium to medium plus, intensity, medium complexity, medium to medium plus finish. So when you take an average of all of that, we're landing somewhere between essentially medium and medium plus. And depending on how generous you are, you can call it good, you can go very good, but being generous taster that I am, I'm gonna call this very good. But if you call this good, I think it's perfectly reasonable. Now,
I like this one a lot because I like earthy black fruit.
Stony. fruit.
Stony.
We like
What?
we like stony wines. I think.
What?
The stuff with like the wet stones and the limestone.
Oh, stone. Yeah.
Volcanic stuff. stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. We like
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. So like I would be more likely to say very good, but that's just because like the flavors, or for lack of a better word, or like the tasting notes are more like what I like.
yeah. And what I appreciate and what I like about this wine is and it's true for a lot of occupant-based wines from this area, is that they really kind of showcase the limestone character of this region. So, you know, these wines, especially being how hot Mediterranean sunny place it is very easy for these things to be kind of really get out of control in terms of both alcohol as well as just the drop of acid as it gets ripe, and it just becomes very flabby and round and big and powerful. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just what I love about the limestone character here is that we talked about this earlier, which is that there's angularness to this wine, even though without lacking any of the generosity of the fruit. Like you get all the ripeness, you get the sun on these fruit. You can feel the sun in this glass, but it is still very kind of rigid and has a very like straight backbone and acid and all of that. And that's what I really like about this wine. And on top of all the flavors and everything. All right, would you age this?
You can age it.
I think you could for like a little while, maybe. But I don't know that you could age it for like a long time. I like to drink, I would drink it now. I mean, it's like some acid and tannins, but like not crazy.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think yeah, it has a decent backbone. We call it both medium and medium plus, or a medium to medium plus, both on acid and as well as tannin, right? Medium tannin, medium to medium plus acid. So it's a decent backbone. But even the style of the wine is not meant to be super aged for a long time. I mean, this is for the immediate kind of approach, joy of drinking now, the youthfulness, the ripeness of the fruit, and all of that is what makes this wine delicious. So I say, drink this now. I don't think it's going to fall apart anytime soon because of that decent backbone that we talked about. So I say, pick this up, drink it over the next 3 to 5 years. No problem. I don't think it's going to fall apart anytime soon. Having said that, also going back to what you were saying, Sarah, if you like more of that kind of black fruit with stone minerality, and then more with a more extraction, so more tannin, more of the kind of structural portion of the wine, I highly recommend you check out their Sarasolo de Vittoria, the case that comes out, because it's essentially the same grapes, but the blend is 50-50 instead of 70 for Pato, 30 in Nerodavola. And then they age it for, or they extract it for a longer amount of time, and they age it for a longer amount of time. And it's a completely different expression. And then like the tannin goes up, the concentration goes up, the fruit quality turns much darker, all of that. And that wine is meant to be aged for a much longer amount of time. So when you taste that, I remember thinking that, like I actually have it in my tasting note, is that it was very interesting to taste I can see why they made this. It's like, they have that Cerso de Vittoria, which is one for marketing reasons, right? Like that's what's gonna make them the money because that's the only TOCG in Sicily that can put on their label. So I get it. And then it's like the ones that's gonna age for a long time. They can probably command higher price for it. And then this is meant to be more of that kind of like drink it now, enjoy it fresh and young and now while you wait for that Cerso to age. It's kind of like the Langhe Nebbiolo versus Barolo or Barbaresco kind of thing. As the Piedmont people say, Langhe Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo is what you drink while you're waiting for Barolo and Barbaresco to age. And then it's kind of, I felt like this is the same thing. So this Frappato, this Sabbie Rosso is what's meant to be drunk young and fresh and enjoy it while you're waiting for the Cerso Victoria to cut the age and kind of bloom to its plus. So, cool. Good job, everyone. Any questions? No questions? All right. Did you guys like this one? Did anybody not like this one? Just out of curiosity. Huh. Okay. I mean, I know this one, but okay. All right. Let's play everyone's favorite game. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? Think about it. Two sons of a living legend in Sicily. But they are just getting started. They just hit the market. Wines, we called it good to very good. What do you think is? They also have a name recognition, not just in Sicily, but like internationally recognized name recognition, Occhipinti. What do you think is the fair price for?
And Occhipinti has gotten very expensive. I just saw it someplace. I don't know where. I just recently saw it and I was like, holy crap. Like the prices have really gone up from the first time we had it even a few years ago.
Yeah, this thing is crazy. All right, 29, Alex 32, 28, 28, 26, 22, 28. All right, and the correct answer is 34. So Alex, you got closest.
She made a very loud noise.
The victory.
Not competitive at all, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, there's definitely the name value. I do think the occupancy plays a role in here. And honestly, to tell you the truth, though, like with this quality of wines that are coming out of Sicily now, I actually don't think 34 is not an unreasonable price for this thing. Do I think this is like crazy bang for your buck? No. But do I think it's overpriced? No. I think it's about, from what I'm seeing in terms of the quality that's coming out of Sicily right now, this is about, it's a fair price for what they're asking, is what I suppose. So yeah, there you go. So whether you think this is the next occupancy that's going to go to the allocation, that's going to go to the crazy fucking, skyrocketing of the price, who knows? Who knows? But both Ariana, I mean, just the first, Ariana, living legend, rock star. I don't know if you can even call Ariana an up and coming winemaker anymore. She's been doing it. She's been making wine for 20 years. She's only like 42, and she's been making wine for 20 years already. By the way, that's a crazy story. So Ariana didn't know anything about wine, never worked in vineyards, nothing. And she got into wine by going to Giusto, helping Giusto at a Vin Italy, which is a huge wine expo that happens in Italy, just pouring wine at his table. And she loved the experience so much, she decided to come back and work for her uncle. And that's where she learned how to make wine. And fast forward 20 years, and she is one of the most recognizable names in wine. Like it's pretty incredible. So the fact that his Giusto's own sons are making their own wines now, what do you think that's going to happen to La Fontaine in 20 years? We'll see. We shall see. In 20 years when we're all old, and you guys are gonna be like, remember that time when we tasted La Fontaine on the 6 Foot Wine Club? You're like, I can't drink that anymore. It's too expensive. Just mark my words. All right. Any other questions? Cool. Hearing none, I'm going to stop the recording.